The City of Plattsburgh is holding a public hearing to hear public comment on proposed local law P-2 of 2022. A local law amending, renaming, and restating Chapter 14 Boards, Commissions, and Committees, Article 1 Planning Commission, Section 14-4, Election of Chairman, Employment of Personnel, Powers and Duties of the City Code of the City of Plattsburgh to provide bylaws for the City of Plattsburgh Planning Board. I'll now entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Motion by Councilor Canales, second by Councilor Gibbs. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now, the public hearing is now open. Is there anybody in attendance that would like to make a comment on the local law P-2 of 2022? Seeing none, I'll now take a motion to close the public hearing.
Oh,
Motion by Council, pardon?
I'm sorry, this woman did this.
I just have some questions about, I think, the meeting before.
On
okay.
this specific issue?
No.
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come back to the public hearing, or
Sorry,
the public comment in the regular meeting. Thank you.
Sorry.
I'll now take a motion to close the public hearing. Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Canales. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is now closed. At this time, I'd like to call the May 2nd, 2022 regular meeting of the Common Council City of Plattsburgh to order. It is now 5:05. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Carlin, will you please conduct the roll call?
Mayor Rosenquist.
Here.
Councilor Canales.
Here.
Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Councilor Gibbs.
Here.
Councilor Talon. Here. Councilor Bob. Here. Councilor Moore.
Here.
All councilors have received a copy of the minutes of the April 21st, 2020 regular meeting. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections, I'll now entertain a motion to accept the meetings as presented. Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Canales. Any additions, changes, or deletions? Seeing none, I'll now take a seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. I'll now recognize those in the audience who wish to share their thoughts and concerns with the council on any topic. Please come to the podium to be acknowledged when called upon. We ask that you please state your legal name and address for the records, and in accordance with the organizational rules of order, all speakers will be given 5 minutes to address the council. Yes, please. Thank you.
My name is Lisa Goodrow. Sorry, my address is actually in Rouse's Point, 34 Church Street. I'm here tonight just because I work at JCEO. I'm the Community Outreach Program Director, and the publication about the paid parking had come out over the weekend, and we have a lot of employees and volunteers who are very concerned. We are community action. We don't really pay a lot because we're grant funded. So a lot of our employees can't really pay $7 a day to park, or even the yearly fee. I think that would put a hardship on most of them, as we are about 14 to probably $22 an hour ranging in staff. We have 40 staff members in the building, and we have roughly 3 or 4 volunteers. We also have staff that come from other counties, and they're in and out all day, dropping material off, picking things up. We have some handicapped people that work in the building as well, who are concerned with having to pay for parking. So I didn't know if you guys had any provisions for people who work in town or are volunteering at agencies at all.
We typically don't have an interaction or a dialogue. That the decision on the parking, the decision on the parking discussion is going to be held on the 12th of this month at the Finance CEO Committee meeting.
Okay.
And some of those details are going to be worked out at that.
Okay, and that's open to the public as
Oh,
well?
yeah, of course. Same,
Okay.
same like this.
Okay,
Same like this.
and you
Yeah.
said, I apologize, I
No, no worries.
called somebody and,
No, no, no.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, like, that's what this is for, is
Okay.
for people to come and ask questions and make comment, and then if you need more information, then we can be in touch with you and then
Okay.
let you know when other meetings are happening.
all right, and you
Yeah.
said May 12th?
May 12th at 5 PM in this room here.
Okay,
All right,
thank you guys
All
for
right.
your time.
thanks, Lisa. Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to share their thoughts and concerns with council on any topic?
Hello, my name is Quinn Rufa. I live at 30 William Street, Plattsburgh. I am a civil and environmental engineer. I work downtown. I live near downtown. I have a dog that requires a lot of walking, so I walk him about half hour every day. So I've walked downtown quite a bit, and I've been driving downtown for 5 years now. The Carl Walker study was very incomplete. So I think if the city is to move forward on paid parking, based on the Carl Walker study, it's going to be an uninformed decision. It really didn't go through pros and cons other than a few sentences. Did not go into detail. The company was from about 13 hours away or so. So it's be quite impossible to really get a good gauge on what it takes to walk far distances in the winter when it's toughest, and what people would want to do for that, how long it's going to take, those kind of things. It did mention that there is going to be possible impacts to the businesses. So I think that should be important. So what I would like to see is how much is the city expected to bring in from charging for parking, and some reasoning on how you got to those numbers. And how much is it going to cost to enforce? I think if you hire one person to enforce it, that's not going to cover it right there. It would probably be a deficit. And if other people already hired are going to enforce it, then you're leaving other places short-staffed. So those are things I would like to see in order for the city to make an informed decision on this. Also, I'm against two-way or one-way driving. The biggest thing is there's never going to be more bikes than cars because we live in northern New York. I think e-bikes are a big thing and will increase a lot in the next few years, but it's still going to be too cold to bike for most of the year. And there's always going to be more cars. And when you miss your turn on the one way, you're likely going 4 to 6 blocks extra. So it's very frustrating for people who don't know the routes and have not been here before. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to address the council on any topic?
Hi, my name is David Yoke. I'm sorry, I have my friend up here because I've been having seizures. I just got out of the hospital. And I'm not following a doctor's order. I'm supposed to be out for 3 to 6 weeks, not doing anything about it. I'm trying to figure out, our concern still is with the homeless people and mental health down here downtown. I like some of the stuff you guys are doing, but I wish I could hear a little bit more about what we're going to do to help these homeless people and a lot of the mental health people down here. That I'm pretty sure the city could get more funding than what I could do to help these guys out. And it's just breaking my heart that I was in Burlington Hospital and I'm sitting there talking to another mental health patient, trying to get him help in Burlington, but they're trying to save my life. And it's pretty sad that, and I'm pretty sure I've been doing some research that the mayor can help with some of the stuff that's going on in the city, 'cause I've been looking at it, we're doing a lot of research, but I wish you guys would really start looking at the bigger picture of what's going on. You guys can make downtown as beautiful as you want, but we still got people sleeping under the bridges. You're gonna stop mental health patients out here swinging baseball bats. You know, we have to find something to work together, because I made a commitment that doesn't matter what happens, I will still fight for the people of Plattsburgh. I don't care, like I told my wife, and the doctor told me to stop for a while. I'll do it till the day I die, because I made a promise to a lot of people in Plattsburgh, and my group too, that I will keep fighting, because I've seen way too many mental health patients. I brought one of them here the other night with me to a public safety meeting. That breaks my heart. You know, I'm just asking you guys, think about other ways that we can help the community more. You guys are our leaders right now. People look up to you guys. They voted for you guys. You guys can look into some of this stuff for us. You know, thank you.
I'd like to share something too. You can hold me up. Okay, hold me up. I live at Lakeview Towers. And a couple months ago, one of the ARC houses closed and they put a woman in our building. And she's incontinent. Everybody runs away from her. It's just not a good fit, but she just stays there. And I want to take that up to another level. The other thing in housing, and today, this week and next, they're going to continue the entryway. It was very unsafe for elderly people to walk in. All the carpeting was buckling. But it took a congressional request to get it done. What I did was first I contacted housing, they come do it. Then I contacted Elise Stefanik's office and she contacted HUD and HUD contacted housing, and it's getting done. It's a really hard process to move things. And there are ways. So if there is something still going on in the city with the housing, with landlords and tenants. But last time there had been, and then it was, nobody wanted to go, so it wasn't being done anymore. But if something comes up, we'd like to know.
Oh, one more thing, last public safety meeting, I hope that everybody heard it. That I hope there's a female officer next time something ever happens. I don't care if you're black or white, whatever. But I hope that they got the message that there should be a female officer out there when another lady asks for help. And I'm praying that you guys listen to what I said last time. Thank you. I gotta get to another meeting.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
I will now go on to, is there anyone else? No. We'll now go on to committee reports. Each standing committee is chaired by a counselor. I'll now call upon the chairperson of each committee, starting with city operations counselor's office.
Nothing to report at this time. We haven't had our meeting yet this time.
Finance, economic development, we have our meeting on 5/12, city infrastructure.
Well, as chance would have it, we just had our monthly meeting, so probably not gonna repeat everything that we just went over, but we'll route you forward several motions to the regular agenda. Have a report for Public Works.
Thank you. Public safety counselor Canales.
Nothing to report at this time.
We'll now move on to liaison reports. Plattsburgh Public Library, Counselor Town.
This week's meeting was canceled because we did not have a quorum. It's my understanding that the work on the roof has started.
Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department, Counselor Gibbs.
Well, I don't have any updates, but Mayor, I've requested a meeting with Bill Tracy. This is my 5th request now. How can I proceed
Again,
with?
clarifying the meeting request was to explain to the council the power purchase agreement and how crypto impacts. I've had one meeting request from you. I asked that I was able to work with Bill Tracy on the report. I reviewed the report today. I still have questions on having him clarify it. I would like to have him clarify that further. And then also the request was to have that presented to the entire council, not to just one counselor, because I felt like it's much more important to get that information out to the entire council. Considering that I've had a number of people from multiple wards reach out to my office asking about that power purchase agreement. So again, I will work with Bill Tracy to finalize that report. I will provide that report to the entire council. And then if there are additional questions, I'd like to have Bill Tracy come to and speak to the council about it, not to just one councilor.
Mike, when you were chair of MLD, were you able to meet with Bill Tracy?
I rarely did because I was working at the time. I think under the right circumstances, if I had requested it, it probably could have been done.
Okay, thank you.
Dean, any staff member reports?
Nothing from me, no.
No special committee reports. Before voting on the following resolutions, I'll note that the majority of the resolutions have been thoroughly discussed by the appropriate committees and department heads. We're now taking action on these items in large part due to the recommendation of those committees. Ms. Garland, can you please assist the titles of the resolutions to be acted upon?
First, we have a motion to remove resolution 7.66 and 7.70 from the table.
Motion. Motion by Counselor Canales, second by Counselor Pop. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? They are now on the table.
Item 7.66, the acceptance and adoption of final report on reconstruction of Margaret Court, Prinkerhoff Street.
Motion.
There's not
Counselor,
a motion again, we just opened both.
okay,
Just starts.
discussion.
This is new. So we didn't get this as part of supporting documents. Can we get an explanation on this?
So we are Kelly McCardle and Todd Humphrey from the CNS companies. What you're looking at right in front of you, counselors, is an output virtually of our last meeting. On the top, you're going to see our typical section that came from survey number 2. This was virtually our winning typical section. Then down here, based upon feedback from the counselors in last meeting, we talked about the potential of taking the roadway back to a 2-way if we did not like the one-way option. So you're gonna see 3 different options right here. The middle 2 are 1-ways, and then the bottom is a 2-way. What's really important in this is that you see the roadway widths are the same in the bottom 3, so that's 34 feet right there. And that allows you that flexibility to jump between the options. Should we go with the 1-way and we don't like the 1-way, we can, change it to a 2-way. You have that flexibility. You'll see.
This is the section between Court and Prinkerhoff.
Correct, thanks, Zach. You'll see also in the images, ray vehiculars, those are going to be your parking lane with the vehicles right in there. And then anything that is colored, you'll be able to see the direction that they are traveling. You'll also see some shared use lanes in there as well. Did you want?
Yeah, just quickly, by taking the initial 31-foot wide curb to curb width for the 1-way option and adding 3 feet, which is essentially taking 3 feet away from the sidewalks, 1.5 feet roughly on either side. That does enable you to set those curbs at 34 feet, which if you go forward with a 1-way option, that gives you a little bit of extra room, a little more flexibility, and also in the future, because there's been this discussion and some uncertainty of will 1-way work, it does enable you to put the roadway back to 2-way operation and maintain parking, which I guess years ago when the conversion happened, that was the issue, that the road was left very narrow. So this would enable you to, in the future, revert back if that became the case.
Well, I'm glad that you came up with this because in my ward, there was not a lot of support for the 1-way street, but I can tell people that, if it doesn't work out, we can go back. It's been accounted for, and I appreciate that.
So the street lamps as part of this are going to be moved, right? I mean, they're going to be moved from their current location to where they're shown in these diagrams, the street lamps?
Yeah, so what you're actually looking at on that Counselor Gibbs is the left and right side. You'll see the sidewalks are going to be shared evenly, but you'll also see a snow storage space because it's virtually we can pick if we're going to go with a 2 or a 4, depending. And what that'll do is that's going to change where your benches are located, your utility strip is located, and that will all be adjusted moving forward.
Yeah, these are just typical schematics. So from building to building, from block to block, it could change. So what we're trying to do in areas where we want to have that outdoor dining that's currently in the street now, by even with a 15.5-foot sidewalk, if you take that, what we call the snow storage area, and narrow it down, that gives you adequate distance to have the 5-foot minimum sidewalk and have at least what you have now and even a bit more to have that outdoor dining. And of course, there's flexibility. What we're showing here is having the seats and the tables up against the buildings and the storefronts. You could just as easily take that, if there was a preference, and move it over curbside, more like the way it is now. The important thing is to make sure you've got enough room for people to have that thoroughfare where they can walk in two directions, and leave the option for businesses to have that outdoor dining, which was a big positive request coming through the survey.
So my question was specifically the street lamps. So the street lamps are being moved though?
The street
Yes.
lamps will stay in the same place.
Oh, they are in the same
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so, they're interspersed, there's distance between them, so, obviously, when we get to final design, we work out the situation where you have street lamps, obviously, you can't have competition with outdoor dining, so, there's gonna be a bit of pick and choosing, but I think there's some flexibility, like the snow storage. We discussed in the past areas where you can have plantings and a little bit of green space, which you want a little bit wider area. And in other areas, especially where we're talking about having snow removal and make it easier to push the snow off the street and take it away in the wintertime, you would use hardscape. Right now, that's where you see the pavers. Instead of having the regular brick pavers that would move around, we would recommend something more like a textured colored concrete that would look like bricks, but would be the same material as your sidewalks. Be more traversable. You're not going to get that heaving and that movement. And also, you're going to be able to adapt it if you want to have tables and chairs on that in the summertime.
So one of the things I asked the last time we talked about the project is the plan for the businesses. And you addressed the water and sewer. In terms of access, how people are going to be able to access them because the street is going to be torn up. How is that going to be done? How is access to the buildings themselves going to be accommodated during construction?
For the most part, you're not going to have any disruption except just when the sidewalks are going to be built in front of that building. And you can do it in two pieces, rather than say, we go all the way from the curb to the front door and have 15 feet of concrete at once where you can't walk through. You can do like half of it at a time. Now, when you're pouring concrete up against the buildings, that's where you're going to need things like temporary ramps, using plywood and other materials to make sure you can get access to the front doorways.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Yes.
Councilor Moore and I attended a meeting with the CNS folks last Monday. And also, I believe Michael Bissett was there and Andrew Durham were there. The thing that I learned that I hadn't really realized about the study is that it is conceptual. It is not engineering design. That's a whole separate phase of this. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And
What you see in the fold-out drawings in the back of the concept study are approximate drawings made off of aerial photographs. They're fairly accurate, but it's not actual topographic survey where a surveyor came out and took exact measurements.
okay, so we learned then that conceptual design is very flexible. And I think you demonstrated it with this chart that you gave us to show that Councilor Moore's concerned about the 34-foot roadway width so that it can be changed back to two-way, can be met quite easily. So I was impressed by that. I think having that flexibility is going to be important in this project. So thank you.
And a clarification on this item is that this updated diagram is also included in the entire package.
I have a quick question. What's the reason for in these two options for the contraflow lane? Like instead of it being just the same?
Sure. Well, having that 3 extra feet enables us from going to just a regular shared use lane, which you could still have a shared use lane, or what the contraflow lane does, it gives you a separate bike lane where you could stripe it as a bicycle lane. And by going contraflow, we'd be going in the opposite direction of the traffic. So vehicular traffic is going to be going from north to south, and bicycles will be going from south to north. And by doing that, if you look in context with Port Brinkerhoff and Beekman, and what is being proposed, you could create a loop for the bicycles.
I guess my concern with that is that one of the things that is very important is that we're trying to increase biker safety and biker awareness throughout the city. And obviously in most situations, the law is that you should be riding with traffic. So I don't want to create confusion. And so that's my concern with that. I like the idea of having a separated lane. And it is something that people reached out to me about, saying that they would feel safer, but having it go the opposite way gives me some pause. But it's not something I'm gonna get hung up on. I was just curious about
Yeah,
that.
it's why we wanted to show options.
Right, yeah, it's something that can be discussed further another time.
Any further discussion?
I'll just have one other comment, which goes back to being able to switch this. That's how we ended up with the mess of the street that we have now.
Yep.
Is that somebody made it one way and then tried to correct that without taking that into account. And it's one of the most unique streets I've ever seen. There's a dog leg in it, there's different varying widths. I'm glad you guys are addressing it.
Really appreciate you going back to the table and creating this. It was very helpful.
Yes, thank you for all the work you've done and for giving this option, just in case.
Any further discussion?
Well, I think that, I don't agree with a one-way, and I really appreciate that you drew up a conceptual design to put it back to two-way if necessary. But that's a pretty large change. And with roughly 900 people responding by survey, I feel like something this large should have been set to a referendum. Those are my final thoughts on this, but I thank you very much for your work.
Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
No,
Counselor Talon?
Yes,
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes,
Carried.
Item 7.70, adoption of policies and procedures manual for community development revolving loan fund.
Discussion.
I have a number of questions on this policy. I finally had a chance to get through the whole thing. I located the 2019 resolution that's referenced in this document. And when that resolution came before council, the language on the resolution said that the Housing Development Revolving Loan Program, HRLF, offers rehabilitation of existing owner-occupied homes in the city of Plattsburgh through available New York State Housing Assistance Grant programs and the Housing Revolving Loan Program. So my question in that regard is this policy changing to just rehabilitation of homes under this particular language to include purchasing? Is that a change from just rehabbing buildings to purchasing?
Purchasing,
Oh, hey.
yeah, purchasing homes was always part of the city's revolving loan program. This retains that option and the option for people to make improvements to existing housing for a variety of reasons.
So it was always an option to purchase.
Yeah, the direct home ownership program in the past, we still receive a few calls a year asking if the city still has that program. So this just formalizes it and clarifies the rules for that type of lending a little better than had existed in the past.
So I am not aware of what the previous policy looks like. If one existed to the extent that you're presenting to us now, did an extensive policy exist like the one you're presenting?
I would not call it extensive. One of the reasons we went through the trouble of hiring a consultant to put this manual together is when we were looking at the loan program as it existed in 2019, this is my office and Rich's office, there were a mishmash of often conflicting standards for who is eligible for lending, to which purposes the lending can be put. That applied in certain cases to the home ownership program. So we spent several months digging into the details and came up with a single set of procedures that in the past were covered by the Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund, the Facade Loan Fund, and the Housing Revolving Loan Fund. Under this program, they would all have the same set of guidelines, but no opportunities or options for lending will be taken off the table because all of those options have been built into this. It just spells out in a much clearer manner the review process for applications, who is eligible, and for what purposes they're.
Okay. Page 12 of the document. One of the things here is about loan characteristics. It references prudent lending practices, which means generally accepted underwriting and lending practices. Is this new language for this policy?
To my knowledge, yes.
It says for public loan programs based on sound judgment to protect both federal and city interests. I looked up what prudent lending practices means. One of the questions I have here is, wow. Banking institutions have personnel and resources dedicated to doing debt to income ratio, all the various things that you're outlining here. My pause on this, and I have a number of other questions. My pause on this policy is the way in which it gives a tremendous amount of responsibility to a small number of people in our city. There's language in here about who's going to be looking at these loans and so forth. We are not equipped for such things. Lending institutions have individuals dedicated to this. This is their job. This is what they're trained to do. I look at something like this, as extensive as it is, and I become very concerned that we don't have the internal resource for something like this. And in particular, if something goes default, and I go on to look at other places in the policy about what's going to happen if the loan defaults and if there's property involved and so on and so on. We are not a bank. And I take pause when we try to be more than government when we move over into banking. So I was concerned about that. Page 13 of the document, you have a table here for loan types, terms, amounts, interest rates, and security. Some of the conditions here, I don't see, and this is the risk. There's no real protection to the city, and that's the risk of being a lender. You have the collateral, obviously, but when I look at some of the things that could be used, or some of the ways in which lending could be used, like a mobile home or a modular home, those are notorious for devaluing immediately, like a car. That opens us up for risk. And I don't think that is a good idea for us. Page 14, I looked at eligible applicants, documents and costs, appraisals, flood determinations, title, lien searches, credit reports, similar items necessary, which is kind of vague language. For city to make a loan determination based on prudent lending practices are the responsibility of the applicant, and then how associated costs can be rolled into the loan principal. That's one of the difficulties if you are a low or moderate income individual of taking out a loan like this, because it increases the amount of the loan because you don't have the money up front, which only makes the financial burden even more risky. So I had some concerns about that. Page 15, the city reserves the right to use other real estate or property owned by the applicant to provide adequate security for the loan. I see that as a complicated process for us. Page 16, under co-lending, the city loan is repaid with whatever proceeds remain. If the project fails, the private lender is repaid first. The city loan is repaid with whatever proceeds remain. Under risk mitigation, establish loss reserves just as a private lender would, the city will allocate funds for losses from non-performing loans. The level of loss reserves will vary with the type of projects being financed. Require leverage. Low and moderate income applicants may be exempted from this requirement at the discretion of the city. Page 17 references, this is language lifted right out of that 2019 resolution about the city's loan review committee, which was established in 2019. I don't know who that group was.
It's myself, Rich, and the chief lending officer from the Morpho.
Okay, and Is that the intention of the same makeup for?
We do need to renew the terms of those members, but I would propose no changes to this.
Okay. Page 18. In all cases, the common council retains authority to make final decisions on loan applications. Which would again be a lengthy process to know all the documents, the information, make sure that we're making that proper decision. If the application is on the bottom of the page, if the application is denied, the city will send a letter to the applicant stating reasons for rejection. I see that opening us up for liability as well. We could be accused of redlining or discriminatory lending. And then my final concern is about delinquent loans on page 22. So, goes on to late fees and so on. I see this as overly burdensome to not only city staff. I see this as an exceptional amount of work for city staff, but puts us in a position as lenders, and I don't think that that's a good idea. And if it existed that way in the beginning and I wasn't aware of it, so be it. But this is very in-depth and lengthy. I don't think this is the right direction that we should be going. It's just my evaluation of the policy.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
No,
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
No,
Carried.
Item 7.84, adoption of local law P-2 of 2022, a local law amending, renaming, and restating chapter 14, boards, commissions, and committees, article 1, planning commission, section 14-4, election of chairman, employment of personnel, powers and duties of the city code of the city of Plattsburgh to provide bylaws and the city of Plattsburgh planning board.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Canales. Discussion.
yes, I have some questions. This local law was given to us 2 weeks ago, but I don't really understand the need for this. Can you explain, Mayor?
I'll pass that to Dean. Thank you.
All right, Dean?
Multi-month process. Planning board does not have bylaws that cover, currently does not have any bylaws. And that exposed some potential ambiguity in the review process. So I'd say over a year ago, it was requested and decided that bylaws were necessary from the planning board itself. And so that process started with them. Through several numerous meetings and effort by the CDO staff and looking at other documents, which was reviewed with the planning board numerous times. That resulted in that final product, but based on those federal civil law and statutory provisions, it did say that the common council should legislative act adopt those bylaws. So it's really their bylaws that they presented to us, but we require a local law to codify that request.
So section A, where it says the commission shall have the power and authority to employ experts, clerks, and a secretary, and to pay for their services and such other expenses as may be necessary and proper, not exceeding in all the annual appropriation that may be made by the city of Plattsburgh for said commission. Is that the same language for the zoning board?
It's that statutory language, so the common council can allocate money on an annual basis for technical staff, extraneous fees. I don't know the current number, but it's fairly minimal, if anything, currently. So that's always a council power. That doesn't change anything.
No, but it says the commission, meaning the planning board.
Yes.
The commission has the power to and authority to employ experts.
Subject to whatever money is allocated to them. So the council allocates money to the budget process, and if there's money, then they have the authority to then spend. The council doesn't allocate money, then there's no money for them to spend.
I'm thinking back to 2020, when the zoning board hired an attorney.
That was because the city was applicant, that's a different concept.
Nonetheless, we paid for a legal bill of a redacted, we paid a redacted legal bill. So we paid for something we didn't even know we were paying for. And this gives me pause because of the language here.
That's apples and oranges. That was because the city was applicant. That's not saying when the city is applicant, that's saying if the council allocates money, they can spend the money.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
yeah, that's the only thing that gives me pause. I know we had quite heated discussion about this, about them hiring people without our okay. I don't know, I think there should be some oversight of the council as to who they can hire. I mean,
But specific to this local law, that is the power of the council to allocate a budgeted amount for them to hire from. If there is no monies in there, then they cannot hire somebody. That's the language of this local law.
because that could be pretty detrimental to somebody, some developer, you know, coming in and they could, you know, rack up a pretty big bill without our knowing it.
So that's a different section of the code, which, what for directly can modify that section. Typically, municipalities put the onus on developers to pay for extra review fees or extra technical or expert fees.
I have seen some instances in the past where they were pretty excessive for certain developers.
That's a common critique from developers to municipalities, not just the city, area, state, nationwide.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canales?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibbs?
No,
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
No,
Carried.
Item 7.85, authorize WRRF dewatering upgrades, contract 1E Triangle Electric, change order E1.
Motion. Counselor Canales, second by Counselor Bach. Discussion.
yeah, could we get some explanation? I wasn't part of the, oh, hey. I wasn't part of the infrastructure meeting. So are these all of 85, 86, 87, 88? Are those all yours, John?
It's there. Right?
Yes,
Yeah,
if that's okay,
so-
yeah.
So this first one is with the dewatering project where we upgraded the belt filter presses and did upgrade to one of the primary clarifiers. And there were 3 prime contracts for that project. One of them was the electrical contract. And that electrical contract had an allowance built into the total cost. So that we were able to make field decisions to authorize small changes to the work to keep the project flowing and avoid delay claims. We didn't spend all that allowance money, so this change order is actually a credit back of the unexpended portion of the allowance that was in that contract. So it's a deduct or decrease in the total amount of the project cost.
Thank
Any
you.
further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canales?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibbs?
Yes,
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.86, authorizing award for chemicals for WRRF.
Motion by Counselor Canales, second. Counselor Bach. Discussion. Roll call.
oh, what, well, I don't get to ask a
Yes.
question? Okay. Yes, we-
I asked for discussion. Is
Sorry.
there discussion?
Yes, John, if you wouldn't mind, can you give an update on that?
So this is a water chemical that we use at the wastewater plant and something we buy every year. Should be noted that the cost of this chemical, as with all the other stuff we buy, has increased significantly.
Yeah. Well, how much of an increase are you seeing?
Well, with this one is about 40%. For this particular chemical, it's going to cost us this year about $30,000 for the year. So at some point, maybe a couple months from now, probably going to tally up all the chemical purchases and one more bid that we have coming in for transport of biosolids, and we're going to need to do a budget adjustment to the work budget at that point in time.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Canales?
Yes.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibbs?
Yes,
Council Talon?
Yes.
Council Bob?
Yes.
Council Moore?
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.87, authorize Lake Champlain Basin Program illicit discharge and elimination study phase 3.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Kelly. Discussion.
John, can you explain?
This is phase 3 of some work that has been funded by the Lake Champlain Basin Program, under the federal appropriation. And it's studying these storm sewers to see if there are any sanitary or sewage connections going into the storm sewers that shouldn't be there. So there was some preliminary work done originally, then there was some more focused investigation under phase 2, and phase 3 takes it to another level and really tries to nail down, okay, what's going on in these areas that look like they might have some problems. $37,500 grant with a $5,000 match. That's generally provided by in-kind services, my time, Public Works time, and other city staff.
Thank you, John.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes,
Item 7.88, authorized drinking water infrastructure improvement act, phase 2, grant award acceptance.
Motion. Counselor Canal, second by Counselor Bob, discussion.
John, can you explain?
Yeah, we got $20 million worth of upgrades proposed for the drinking water system, and we've broken that into four approximately $5 million phases.
I'm
We got-
sorry.
We've broken it into four approximately $5 million phases. Each phase probably 5.2, 5.3 million. We got $3 million for phase one. And this is now $3 million towards the phase two work, which includes another production well, some more transmission line work, upgrades to the plant, and more replacement of asbestos cement pipe in the distribution system.
Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.89, authorized attendance of 2022 New York Water Environment Association Spring Technical Conference.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Canales, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.90, termination of daily parking permit program.
Motion by Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Canales, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.91, dissolution of Plattsburgh Parking Advisory Committee.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Canales, discussion.
When's the last time this committee met?
February of 2020.
Okay. And at that time, did they give us their final recommendations?
They gave their final recommendation several months before that. It was in, I think, September of 2019.
I went looking for that. I found one of those parking reports. I'll go back and look at the date. Thank you, Matt.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.92, Plattsburgh City Council declares no mow May.
Motion by Counselor Bob, second by, or sorry, motion by Counselor Gibbs, second by Counselor Bob, discussion.
So I sent this idea around to council to see if they supported it. It seemed like you did. I wrote a resolution, which is, it's a token of support. It is not a mandate that, people don't, like they have to stop mowing or anything like that. It's just support and awareness for pollinators. So I just want to clarify that if people decide they don't want, they want to mow their lawn, there's something keeping them from doing that. So just wanted to clarify that.
Any further discussion?
We already follow a Raise the Blade initiative. We've been doing that for quite some time.
We do, we promote annual Raise the Blade initiative in partnership with the Lake Champlain Basin Program. We send out information to our citizens and residents to encourage them to mow no less than 3 inches in a month. As discussed at the infrastructure committee meeting, we said that during the month, if council adopts this resolution during the month, there will be just a memo sent downstairs to hold off on levying fines for 10-inch lawns if they hit that height.
I think the advantage of this over just the raised blade is that, where we live in this climate, it's very slow for the pollinators to wake up and kind of get going about their business. So I just think that this is a good way for as many members of our community who feel comfortable participating to help promote pollinator populations in our area, which is important.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
No.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
no,
Carried.
Item 7.93, mayor is authorized to sign extension addendum with the CDC real estate.
Motion. Counselor Gibbs, second by Counselor Canales, discussion.
Yes, can we get a clarification on this?
It's just an extension of their existing contract as they're still working to list and show and sell at least 6 Miller Street.
Okay.
Not
that's
to
what I
say
thought.
that we don't have other properties that we're preparing to sell or looking to sell or put on the market at some point. But this really is an extension of the work that they're already doing.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes,
Carried.
Item 7.94, mayoral appointment, engineering assistant, DPW.
Motion by Counselor Canales, second. Counselor Bob, discussion.
Yes, did anybody receive a resume on this individual? I
Yeah,
didn't,
the department heads did.
I didn't see a resume as part of our supporting document, so I don't know anything
I don't think
about.
that's our job to really look at their resume. We're not the subject matter experts, and they're not working for us. They're working for these individuals over here.
Okay, so by,
And typically we don't do discussions during mayoral appointments, so,
it says discussion.
well, I'm, my fault.
That's my fault.
Sorry?
That was my fault. Sorry.
Yep, sorry. Allow for it, but again, this is a mayoral appointment based on conversations with the department heads on an already agreed upon plan to backfill hiring for this specific position.
Okay, we received a resume for an individual who you brought forward for the zoning board. I don't remember that person's name, but
Right, at the request, and to separate hiring for an individual versus a mayoral appointment to an individual board. Based on last year's contentious appointment process, I've asked the zoning and planning boards to provide their recommendations for appointment to my office, independent of me seeking out appointees to those boards. With that, I provided information to council based on their request to recommend those individuals.
so this particular position, it says engineering assistant, but in the,
It's actually
Oh.
engineering technician.
right, that's what's the difference between the two?
This is acting as a law, it's engineering technician.
It's just backfilling.
Oh, this is engineering.
Backfill and his previous position. And the applicants that we received before it over civil service, this particular individual was reviewed by civil service and approved by civil service for this position. They still have to take and pass an exam at some point in the future, so they can be appointed to this position.
So they have the qualifications.
They have the qualification.
Okay. Thank you.
Roll call.
Counselor Canales?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Without a resume, no.
Counselor Talon?
Yes.
Counselor Bob?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
without not knowing any of this person's qualifications.
I can't hear you.
Without having any qualifications for this person, I would have to say no, based on no information.
Carried. There any new business coming before this council? There's no need for executive session. Any new business?
Yes, I have some questions about the most recent police department structuring.
Yeah, that would be best probably for committee, discussed in committee with public safety.
Chief is here.
We can discuss that on the 16th.
We typically leave out committee business to the committees. New business is bringing forth any new resolutions during this time to be considered by the body.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yeah.
this, I believe, could be the second or third time we've had discussion about mayoral appointments, and the charter is pretty clear that we're not supposed to do that.
I'm not supposed to do it, I'm sorry.
We're not supposed to discuss mayoral appointments. And yet we insist on doing that. And of course, that's against the charter. So I would recommend that if we're going to continue to do that in the future, that we do it in executive session. That might be more appropriate. And I would ask the city attorney if he would concur or disagree with
So I
that.
agree with that. Why typically, at least in prior versions of the agenda, it would kind of dictate that process. Or mayor appointment with a vote, but if there were any questions, then we would resume that discussion in an executive session.
Okay. Thank you.
Any new business? Take a motion to adjourn. Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Canales. All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned.